everyone. Welcome to Her Story Unscripted, my very first episode under the new brand, and I am so excited. I have so much to fill you in on. I have so much that I want to talk about, and so welcome, buckle in, grab a cup of coffee, grab a water, go out on a walk, whatever it is, tune in. I'm just so excited. I am like so full of joy and I'm just going to dive right in. So, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. My name is Heather Nelson. I formally, my last podcast name was Life Conversations with a Twist, and we will talk about what that entails. But I just redid my whole entire podcast. The concept will stay the same, the name is different, the brand is different, and the goals are so much more different. And so I'm just so excited. This has been so much work, and I will dive into what that looked like. But again, if you're new, I have been podcasting for 5 years. So I don't even know where to start. So let's fast forward 5 years ago, where the concept of me even being a podcaster even came about. So, if you don't know my journey, I have been in the hospitality space for over 25 years. I've worked in hotels and restaurants and rental companies. I've supported so many different people in our industry. And what kept happening is every time I would show up to a meeting, I'd sit down, I'd meet someone for the first time, usually women, and we would get to talking and getting to know each other, and then they would tell me their whole entire life story. I mean, things that they might not have shared with other people, but I've created this energy to allow people to kind of tell me a lot. I've always been the sounding board for not even just women and what they've gone through, but just in life. I think I've built enough trust for people to rely on me to tell me things, or to have candid and conversations around how they feel or how they move forward. So I've always had this like coaching kind of mentality. And so it was actually, I remember specifically sitting in one lunch meeting, and I had a friend through the industry, but also became really close, tell me about her journey with her child who had autism and learning disabilities and all the crazy things that her life had, but that she had gone through. And I just sat there thinking to myself, man, so hard, especially coming from a place where I don't, I haven't experienced anything like that. But there was like this moment in time where when she was telling me her story, I'm like, there's got to be other women that are going through the same thing. And not only in just this situation, but all the conversations I had over the years with all of these women about certain things that have come up in their life, whether it's losing their child to cancer or, a victim of sex trafficking or divorce or career changes or hard times with their children, whatever it might be. Us women, we go through a lot and we're not alone. We're not the only one dealing with this. So I'm like, how can I create a space where I have women on who are, ready to share their story, to talk about what they've learned, to talk about their journey. And also, like, I think the most important thing is how they've come out on the other side. Because sometimes when you're in the mess of a hard situation, it's really hard to see the other side and like how a positive thing could come out of something so horrible or something so hard or something so challenging. But there's this beautiful moment that happens on the other side where growth happens and empowerment happens. And so, how can I create a space that we can have these conversations and be able to inspire and empower other women who might be going through the same thing, or to create a space where, oh my gosh, this lady has gone through this. I would love to connect with her. Maybe she has resources on how I can get through X, whatever the situation might be. So that is really the brainchild and the heart that I wanted to come to the table with these podcasts and these interviews and these guests. So 5 years ago, I was like, I have this idea. I want to be a podcaster, and how do I create conversation? So that's where the name Life Conversations with a Twist came about. The reason why it started that way is because ideally what I had envisioned for the brand was come over to my house, let's sit down in my lounge with a glass of wine and have these conversations. That's what I really wanted, that feeling to be. And that twist was that one hard thing that you had gone through. Fast forward 5 years. I've had over 200 episodes. So I've interviewed about 160 women all over the world. A lot of my guests have been here local to Sonoma County, which is where I live, but then also I've expanded, all over the world. And it has been truly something so special to me because not only like has it inspired me, but I get DMs all the time or I see people out and about and they're like, your podcast is so inspiring. It's so what I need. It makes me feel less alone. And so that is why I've continued to do it. So to be super transparent, I've never loved the name Life Conversations with a Twist. For some reason, when I say it, it was just too long. And when you hear it, you kind of understand maybe what it's about. But I really wanted the new brand name to be something that I can say one time and you know exactly what you're going to show up and what this podcast is all about. So this all started about a year ago. I had this idea. I really think I'm going to do a rebrand. I just want to elevate it. Again, after you've been podcasting for 5 years, every single week for 5 years, the consistency, I have that down. But where I really wanted to see growth is to make this podcast even bigger, even better, have even more crazier stories on. I want to broaden my reach. I want this podcast to, go international and beyond. Like I really want it to be this thing that I'm known for. I've been battling with certain parts of my career. I still love leaning in. I also own a business called the Connection Hive, which is all about helping and supporting small businesses in the hospitality space kind of create some strategy and know how to move their business forward, creating relationships and collaborations. And so I've been doing a lot of work in that, but when I really sit with it, it's something that I'm passionate about. And I know I have so much experience and so much to share with the world, but there was still something missing in my heart. I also have an event labor company, which is called Set&Strike, and that is an event labor company here in Sonoma County. Napa County, we support people in our industry for labor needs. So we work with a lot of wineries and venues and festivals and anybody who needs labor support. So that actually has been I love that business because it keeps my foot in the door in hospitality and it allows me to be a business owner and like learn and do payroll and kind of like feed that like entrepreneur soul that I have. And so that has been so fruitful and I love it. It's been our biggest money maker in all of our businesses. So I'm continuing to lean into that. But I was struggling last year of like, what is next for me? The Connection Hive, I love, but it like just it wasn't fueling the soul. Set&Strike is great, but it's again not like something that I'm like super passionate about. So the podcast is something that I've always been passionate about. It's something that I truly love. It's something that every time I interview a woman, I feel like she is on my podcast that day for a reason. Whatever it is that she is going to pour out into my guest, she's like pouring into my heart. And it's exactly what I need in my life for that day. And as I've been transitioning into this new brand, I haven't been interviewing as much. And I just started this last week of interviewing again. And my heart and my like energy is so different. I didn't interview for like 3 months and I was like, God, something's missing. Like there's not that drive there anymore. There's not that passion there. I'm like, what is it? And I realized it's all about not having like my people, my interviews. I didn't have anybody here to fill my cup. And so that's when I really knew that podcasting is where I want to be. I am such a curious person by nature. I love having conversations with women. I love having hard conversations. I love learning. I love asking questions to peel back the onions to understand a little bit more about their story and where they come from and what they've learned from it. So I think that's something that naturally comes to me, which is why I think podcasting is exactly where I want to be. So as I sat here last year and I was like, I need to do something different. I was like, I just want to like kind of rip the band-aid off and start fresh. I mean, I have so much content. I have so many amazing interviews that will still, people will still have access to, but like, how do I elevate it? And so I was fortunate to get into this like small mastermind class that I used to grow the Connection Hive and kind of build out that business. And they also offer a rebranding package. And so I've been working with them since, oh, I think it's been since like November when we started the process. And what I loved about this process is it really made me sit down and understand what my mission is, what are my values, what do I need to lean into, what where I want to like where I want to put my energy, who are the guests that I want to have on, what is the story that I want to tell, who are my competitors, who is somebody that I look up to and, want to kind of not do the same thing, but like use as a kind of like foundation. So we did all this work. It was like pages and pages and pages of research and, really exploring everything. And so that has been it was such a cool process to be a part of. And so once that's done, which takes a while, it goes into the branding world. And let me tell you, naming a podcast, naming a business is like naming your child. It had to be the perfect name. And I knew once I heard it, it was going to be like, yes, that's exactly what it is. And I knew I wanted something with like authentic and like women's stories and like again, how does the name of the podcast, as soon as I say it, people know exactly what it is. And so I think we had hundreds of different words. And one of the words that stuck with me was unscripted. So when I got my first like list of names, I would go through and say yay, nay. And the word unscripted kind of just still like sat with me. And I had lunch with one of my best friends, and she was with me when we got the first list. And there were so many versions of unscripted or something with her story. And so it was kind of like her idea and us talking together to be like, ooh, her story unscripted. And I was down to a few others. I had them listed on my whiteboard for weeks just because I had it on my whiteboard in my kitchen because I wanted to keep looking at them and I wanted to see which one resonated with me. And I landed on Her Story Unscripted. And the reason I did that is because there's lots of reasons, but I think the main reason was us as women we feel like we have to show up and say things a certain way. We are told and we've grown through life being quiet, that we can't speak our mind, that men always kind of led first. And it was this like no of women being authentic and talking about their story. And I think back to like all the shows that I've watched, like back in like, oh, what's her name? Like Queen Elizabeth and like, you know, they were so miserable and they were so unhappy and like so many horrible things happened to them. And you think about all of these things that are coming out with like the Epstein files and like women have been told to be quiet or whatever story they tell has to be a lie or has to be made up. It can't be like the real truth. And so what I loved about the word unscripted is that it allows women to show up unscripted. And even when I interview a guest, I don't give them a list of questions. I'm like, I might give them a topic that I want to lean into based on what I know about them or what they've told me about them. But I really want it to be these organic, authentic conversations about their life. And I want them to show up unscripted. I don't want them to show up and say, well, I have to say this because XYZ. No, I want you to show up and be truthful and authentic and the real you. And so that is where the unscripted kind of came in. And for years since I've been doing podcasting, every time I meet somebody and they talk about themselves and their stories, I'm like, you have a story to tell. We all have stories to tell. We all have journeys. We've all been through things, and some of us worse than others. And some are really traumatic or like grieving or a lot of messiness in between. But we all have a story to tell. And so that is where Her Story Unscripted came, because I want a woman to show up and tell their story unscripted, authentic. Let's like no bullshit, like let's just lay it all out there and have those hard conversations and talk about the things that people don't necessarily talk about or ask. And I am so willing to ask those questions. And I feel like over the years, I've gotten better about how I ask them to make them feel comfortable. So that is the new name, Her Story Unscripted. Welcome. So again, still similar concept to what I've done over the past, 5 years, but really just new name, a new look, a new feel, new fresh. You'll start to see on my social medias, I went through like old graphics that I used or old ways of doing things. And so it was kind of cool to like explore the journey of where I was when I first started to where I am today. And I truly believe that us women can like lead the world in a different place. And I think that there is something super special about women showing up and being like their true selves to inspire and empower others. And I think the more we do that and the more we feel comfortable doing that, the more powerful we are together and the more change can happen in this world. So that is my mission and that is what I want to continue to doing. And I keep putting out there in the world, I want to be like the next Mel Robbins and not necessarily what her podcast is or what it's about, but like how she is known for, like that's what she's known for. I want to be known for the podcaster. I have so many big goals in this podcasting space. I want to be the number one podcaster here in Sonoma County. I want to be like top podcaster. I want to be asked to interview people. I truly love this work and I want to continue to do it. And so it's been such a process. Once we came up with the name, that was one of the things I fed the branding team is like my colors, my feel, my looks. As you can see by my background, like this is me. I love black and white. If you don't know me, I love leopard print. I love green plants. So you'll see a lot of that in my branding and I'm really it truly feels like me. And I can't wait to like get it out in the world. I can't wait to continue to have these powerful women coming on the podcast to tell their story. There's so much I see for this podcast and with kind of taking a break from the Connection Hive and really leaning into the podcast, I know that I can be so much more. So you're going to see more social media from me. You're going to see more emails from me. I really want this will be my focus. This is what I'm set out to do. This is the work that I want to continue to do. So I just want to say thank you. If you've been a listener through my last 5 years, thank you. Thank you for consistently showing up each week. You know what I really would hope from everybody here is that if you listen to an episode or you think some of these stories resonates with someone in your life, please share it with them. This is how the podcast grows, right? I think that my growth has been great, but I think I have room for so much more and I'm on a mission to get there. So again, please subscribe to this, share it on social media. Again, if there's a story that resonates with you, put it out on social, get it out there, leave a review, do all the things to support, because again, that's how I'm able to grow. That's how I can get, even more amazing guests on this podcast and so much more. So that is kind of like what you're going to expect from me. I'm still, my last podcast, I also did some solo episodes. Obviously, this is a solo episode, but this is like my launch episode. So I wanted to give everybody a little taste of what is to come and what has gone on behind the scenes. So please continue to show up and support this. And there was a reason why I said that, and it will come back to me. But I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited. This has been such a process between the branding and then, the look and feel. And then I got a photo shoot done and I got to work with my amazing friend, Alicia Park. Shout out to her, who's done all of my branding photos. And she came into my home because my home is a beautiful place and it feels just like me. And so it was really fun to do a photo shoot here in my office and in my living room. And so I just am really thankful for her and the vision. She sees it. And that is super exciting. So you'll see more of that. I know what I was getting at. I wanted to talk about the solo episodes versus the regular episodes. My mind is all over the place because I'm so excited. So with Life Conversations with a Twist, I obviously interviewed mostly people, but I would pop on from time to time to do a little check-in or if there was something that happened in my life that I felt the need to talk about. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not because most of my downloads and the listeners like the interview style. But I do think that there is some power in me talking through some of like my own personal things. If you again are new here or just kind of tuning in or haven't listened to a lot of podcasts, I'm rooted here in Sonoma County. I have four children, blended family. I have a stepdaughter who's out in college. I have a daughter who's in high school, a son in middle school, and a little 4-year-old who's in TK. I've been through divorce. I remarried. I'm working through blended family. I have a biracial husband. Our family is biracial. I've been through surrogacy journey and about to go down my second. I'm an entrepreneur. I have two businesses. I'm a podcaster. I'm very connected to the community. So that's just a little bit about me. And I think there's a lot of things that I've done that I think others can get a lot of value from. And so I still might pop on from time to time to do a little solo episode. Maybe it's like a check-in. I still haven't figured out what that is. I also have played around with maybe doing a little surrogacy like season when I get through what we're going through. That's again another podcast. But I do think there's a lot of value in having other people in the surrogacy space, whether they are a surrogate or an attendant parent or somebody that's in the health system or an agency talking about what that is, because I think that's another topic that needs to be talked about more. So those are all kind of in the works at the moment. But I'm here for this podcast. I cannot wait to see it grow. Again, I am just so thankful for everybody who's shown up and supported me. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you hear. Again, reviews are super important. If there's a guest in your world or somebody in your world that you think their story needs to be heard, please have them reach out to me. I'm definitely open to any and all guests. I've been very lucky enough that I get reached out to on the daily with guests from all over the world. So, but I do find value, and there's certain topics that I think resonate more. And I have my pulse on what's going on in the world. I have a pulse what's going in our communities. I have a pulse on what women need right now. And so when I am finding guests, I really want to lean into what I know people want to hear and then asking the questions that we want to know. So that is kind of like my focus on how I interview people. So thank you again. I know I rambled. I hope I made sense. Again, there's just so much excitement behind this new brand. And I already have so many episodes recorded that are coming at you. They will still be released on Thursdays. You're going to get so much social media and emails from me. Sorry, not sorry, but I just want to get the word out there and share these beautiful stories. So thank you again. And I can't wait to see you next week.